Hi there, I'm Logan Medish, and this is High Caliber History. The direct successor to the M1 Garand rifle was the M14. Major manufacturers included Springfield Armory, Winchester, and Harrington and Richardson. All three were, at the time, well-known and respected arms makers. However, production by Springfield Armory was slated to be phased out by September 1963, so a replacement third company was necessary. Government arms contracts mean big money for companies that are fortunate enough to land them. As such, competition to fill the soon-to-be vacant spot in the M14 arms industry was stiff. In fact, a total of 42 major firms competed for one vacancy in 1961. In the end, the company that won the contract was one that had absolutely zero previous rifle-making experience, and yet they managed to meet their required deliveries ahead of schedule. The company was Thompson Ramo Woolridge, or TRW, and the company was made up of the financial backer, Thompson, and the engineers, Ramo and Woolridge, and the contract was for 100,000 rifles and some new tooling. The price tag was $8,554,070. Adjusting for inflation, the contract would be worth a little more than $75 million today. How was it then that a company with no arms-making experience beat out more than 40 other firms? To hear it from Mr. Pace, one of TRW's vice presidents, their experience was making jet engines in the post-World War II years, and that meant that they were a very natural choice in his eyes. He said, quote, "This has been very precise and high-quality work, and at the same time, high-production work." Almost a decade before TRW started making rifles, they'd been tasked with leading the development of the country's first Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, or ICBMs. Around the same time, TRW also began working in the relatively new field of computers. By the time TRW began thinking about rifle manufacturing, they were involved in the automotive, electromechanical, electronics, and space technology industries. Vice President Page continued, quote, "Production is placed on a competitive contract with the most capable producers, a type of contracting with which we were quite familiar. At first, we were quite reserved as to whether the M14 was suitable to us. As it turned out, it was an extremely good thing for our background." In short, TRW was already involved in cutting-edge, highly technical work for the government, and believed that expanding their skill set into the arms industry was a relatively easy thing to do. And you know what? They were absolutely right. In a facility located in Cleveland, Ohio, TRW set to work making M14s in their newly formed Ordnance Works, which fell under the jurisdiction of their electromechanical group within, of all things, their jet division. Components of the M14 were made utilizing some of the same machines that TRW had used for making jet engines. For example, a chain broaching machine was used to help form multiple aspects of the rifle's receiver, such as cutting the magazine slot. Because they were able to retrofit some of their existing machinery, TRW was able to make the rifles faster and cheaper than if they had had to completely retool to make the guns. TRW's first completed M14 rifle was tested in August 1962, and their first block delivery happened in October of that year. This was 1 month ahead of schedule and earned the company a monetary bonus. They aimed to have production completely up to speed by summer 1963, with the goal of producing 24,000 rifles per month. All told, TRW produced 319,691 M14 rifles. This comprised all 100,000 guns of their initial contract and an additional 219,691 on another order in 1962 for $17.4 million. Today, that would be $150.2 million. When production finally ceased on the M14, a total of more than 1.3 million had been made by Springfield Armory, Winchester, Harrington and Richardson, and TRW. The M14 holds the record for the shortest-lived, officially adopted rifle in the U.S. military. Death was already knocking on its door when American Rifleman magazine wrote a story about TRW and the M14 in February of 1963. In fact, a sidebar at the end of that article was titled, "What's Next and When?" And in it, they noted that, quote, "The U.S. Air Force desires the AR-15 for its use as a replacement," and that, quote, "a number have been used under test in Vietnam." It wouldn't be long before the AR-15 was adopted as the M16, and the M14 would be phased out entirely. In the end, TRW produced 23.1% of all M14s made for the US military. If you ask me, that's pretty impressive for a company that knew nothing about rifle production when it bid on the contract. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope you learned something today, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, I hope the fact that you learned something today allows me to earn your subscription to the channel. So go ahead and press that thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and leave me a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Logan Medish, and I'll see you on the next episode of High Caliber History.